The community of LGBTQ has seen progressive change in acceptance and human rights. At least the L, the G, the B, and even the Q. Not perfect, but better than it was. But the T, why are they now hitting roadblocks? I'm Larry Fedoruk, and this is Later That Sane Life. On each episode of my weekly podcast, a different topic, discussion, or story from our lives.
Season 15, Chapter 4,
Trans.
Before I get to why the T people are finding it more difficult to gain acceptance as compared to the rest of the gender alphabet, let me first say that the community in general has a marketing problem. First of all, the name. LGBTQ. It's not even a name. It's a letter representation of everyone in the community. And just when people got used to that, it changed. It changed, and there's not even a complete agreement on what the new moniker is supposed to be. It's either LGBTQ2AI+, or 2S LGBTQQAI+. You know, it's like if the EU didn't call themselves the European Union or the EU. Instead, it was the 4S, 3L, 2G, 2B, D, E2F, MN+. You wouldn't know what it is. Sorry, everyone's name can't be in the title. You know, nothing beyond a duo. Simon and Garfunkel, Hall & Oates, that's okay. 3 or more people, you need a band name. Please welcome Chris, Guy, Phil, Will, and Johnny? No, it's Coldplay. You see what I'm getting at? L is lesbian, women attracted to women. G is gay, men attracted to men. Although gay can mean male or female. B is bisexual, so if you're a B, it means at times you are a G. T is transgender or transitioning. Q is queer, formerly a slur that has been reclaimed by the community. Kind of the way black people try to reclaim the N-word. Q also stands for questioning, i.e., I'm still trying to figure it out. Still not sure. It's complicated. I is intersex. A is asexual. 2S is two-spirited. 2S is different than being a B. And the plus? Well, it's just them giving up. The name is already long enough, so sorry, pansexual and gender fluid and non-binary, aeroflux, etc. We're trying to be inclusive, but you guys just fall under the catch-all plus category. You see what I'm saying? Not only are some of the letters redundant, but some represent gender, while others stand for orientation. Why are those related? I mean, it's one thing if I identify as a male or female or other, but then whose business is it who I'm emotionally or sexually attracted to? I'm just trying to figure out who I am. And you are looking for a sex partner. Why are we in the same group? I feel like there's between 10 and 20 groups in there. And they all need a voice, and they all need representation. Instead, they're all being dumped into one group. One long alphabet soup name under one flag, who get 1 month a year for Pride. And about the flag, in the beginning the movement commandeered the rainbow flag. Genius. 6 bold colors to represent the diversity among us. And then, just like the alphabet name, well, that didn't seem to include everyone. So now their flag has like a triangle made of black and brown and pink, and there's another piece of yellow with a circle in it. Who knows? Just like the name, the flag is now too confusing. And I don't care for the term pride. I'm not a religious person, but pride is one of the 7 deadly sins. It goeth before a fall. The opposite of pride is humility. But neither should be a goal when it comes to human rights. You should be allowed to be as a matter of fact, not from a point of pride. Those are my issues with the marketing of the people who are otherwise oriented. Let's face it, if you're going to get people on your side, you need good marketing. I have some experience in that area. I have no experience in being one of those people. I'm a straight white male. We're usually identified as part of the problem. Having said that, the issues surrounding the otherwise community are based on centuries-old belief and science, for that matter. It's difficult for me to believe that there are only two genders for the entirety of humanity, and that they are based on a penis and a vagina. To be clear, there are three main things at stake here. There's the body parts we're born with, the gender we identify as regardless of those body parts, and since most humans do require emotional and physical contact, which body part does our penis or vagina prefer to engage with? Parts, identification, preference. When you include the notion, which I believe in, that there can be way more than two genders, then the connotations and permutations of identification and preference can be numerous. It's odd to me that a lot of people just can't accept that. You know, at the end of World War II in 1945, there were 99 recognized countries in the world. Today, there are almost 200. It took time, and in some cases, wars and revolutions, but most of us can recognize the nuance of national origin and ethnicity, and the rights associated with that. Oh, but not sexual identification or orientation. You know, the world will point nuclear weapons at each other for your right to be a nation, as long as you believe that the penis only belongs with the vagina. Think about it, there's some 200 countries. There's thousands of ethnicities. There's dozens of body classifications. There's 8 different blood types. Complicated, unique immune systems, which make certain people susceptible to certain ailments and others not. There's this intricate vessel that is the human body, and yet possible only 2 genders? That doesn't make any scientific sense. Now granted, the traditional male and female biology is meant for us to get together and procreate. It's how we seed and grow the human race. But even science can now grow a human in a lab. Men, in fact, could one day be extinct. For many people, these are all uncomfortable thoughts. Of course, our prejudice towards the two-gender belief system is hardly based on science, is it? Largely, we have organized religion to thank for that. Speaking of which, the knock on us straights is that we never have to come out as straights. If you are otherwise part of the alphabet group, at some point, you have to declare. You have to tell family and friends, I'm gay, or I'm this, or I'm that. You straights, you never have to come out. Well, let me say this. You do if you're Catholic, especially a Catholic male. At some point, you have to divulge. You know, I'm interested in Bernadette. I would like to take her to the dance. At which point, the Catholic machine cranks up. Your parents begin to explain to you that sex is a sin, even though they've never actually explained to you what sex is. But it's a sin. Even thinking about sex is a sin. You can't have it until you are much older and married, and only by an authorized Catholic priest. No one else. And then you have sex with no one else but that person, not even yourself. And the priest himself begins reading Bible passages to you. All the time he's thinking, damn, I had my eye on this kid. Too bad. Then a group of nuns flog you with rolled-up Catholic magazines. Well, it's a whole process. But yeah, Catholic boys, once you recognize that you are a heterosexual, you must come out. So that's why when I think of the difficulties that the L's, the G's, the B's, the T's, etc. have in their youth, I may not know exactly what they're going through, but I can kind of relate. The modern multi-lettered movement can be traced back to something called the Stonewall Rebellion of 1969. In the day, NYPD consistently raided gay bars and other hangouts until enough was enough. Marches and riots in response to oppressive police action centered around the Stonewall Inn, Greenwich Village, New York. A few years later, they marched on Washington for gay and lesbian rights. After the Toronto bathhouse raids of 1981, the Canadian movement began to have a louder voice. The point is, none of this is new. It's not like a bunch of people suddenly turned gay because there was something in the water or they were brainwashed in school. Homosexuality itself has been around for centuries, but for years the men and women were generally deeply closeted. There was a time in modern media, as represented by 1960s television, when Dr. Kildare, Perry Mason, Gomer Pyle, the Bunch's dad, Mike Brady, Bewitched's Darren Stevens, Commissioner McMillan, the Joker on Batman, and yes, even the Center Square on Hollywood Squares, were all gay. I assume they all had their favorite bars and hangouts. They just couldn't be gay on television. In 1971, All in the Family episode, Archie discovers that his friend Steve is gay. Steve only appears on that one episode. On Three's Company, Jack only pretended to be gay so that he could share an apartment with Chrissy and Janet while outwitting the seemingly Puritan Ropers. Not sure what set of values was being protected there. In 1977, on the satirical comedy series Soap, Billy Crystal's recurring character was gay. In 1981, Tony Randall starred in Love, Sydney, a short-run NBC series where Randall played a closeted gay man. And it should be noted that Crystal's and Randall's roles led to years of speculation as to their actual orientation, just because they played a gay person on TV. Ellen didn't come out on TV until 1994, and that was considered a major media milestone. Canada legalized same-sex marriage in 2005, the U.S. not until 2015. All to say, progress is slow. In the last couple of decades, we have seen openly gay actors, as well as musicians, politicians, news anchors, CEOs, even bus drivers and baristas. This brings me back to my point. In general terms, society seems more accepting, more at peace with the L and the G and the B and the Q. We perceive that the L and the B and the Q are mostly all G anyway, but the T. Society is uncomfortable with the T, the transitioning and transgender. And again, the T has nothing to do with preference or orientation. It's only identification. Yet lately, the T is really taking it on the chin. And you know what seems to be driving us crazy? Washrooms and sports. It's so completely ridiculous, especially when a man identifies or goes through treatment to become a woman. That seems worse to us than the other way around. Well, what public bathrooms will they use? There will be a man using the ladies' room where my daughter is. First of all, ladies' rooms mostly have stalls. Secondly, transitioning men aren't sex perverts. They don't transition just to be able to show their penis to a stranger in a washroom. And you know, more and more washrooms are now just one room, one person at a time usage, same-sex washrooms. They have a lock on the door. What I'm saying is there's a number of different ways to solve the washroom dilemma without shitting our pants, so to speak. You know, some people like comedian Andy Huggins, they actually see the benefits of it.
I am 74 years old. Life expectancy for men is 76 years. Life expectancy for women is 81 years. I figure if I transition...
Incidentally, speaking of uncomfortable for some, let me just tell you, transitioning usually takes 3 stages. Discovery, hey, I don't think that my body parts match the way society says I'm supposed to feel and act. 2, transition. I start to dress and act more like the gender that I think I am. And that is based largely on current social fashion and mores. You know, you grow your hair long, you wear a dress and earrings. And let me just take a second here to mention drag queens. A drag queen could be, but not necessarily a gay man, who's likely not interested in transitioning at all. They just like the clothes and the makeup. To me, a drag queen is like a cross-dresser on steroids. Still, Americans don't want them in their schools. But anyway, those interested in transitioning, the transition is phase 2. And 3, resolution. This is who I am. In stage 2, you can take medications. It's called hormonal replacement therapy. You can even have a surgery to ensure that you have a traditional body part associated with the gender you identify as. They can build you a vagina. Comedian and actor Pauly Shore went on a podcast recently to extol the qualities of the man-made vagina, saying that he had sex with a transgender woman and the vagina was excellent. Oh yes, the coveted Pauly Shore endorsement. But still, medical technology has come a long way. They can do it. If you're a woman becoming a man and feel you need a penis, they can take your current genital tissues, stretch them out, and make them longer so that you have some sort of a member down there. Ooh, TMI. Well, sorry, it shouldn't be TMI. Again, not everyone transitioning gets all of the procedures. It varies, and it's very personal. I'm not surprised that people can't wrap their head around all of this medical transitioning science. Most people can't even accept a new set of pronouns. The L, the G, the B, the Q are making strides. The T, they're facing more fear and discrimination, granted mostly in MAGA America, who used the scare tactic as part of their election campaign. Fear the T. As I said, it's even worse when a man becomes a woman. All of this despite Bruce Jenner becoming Caitlyn, the Julian Assange WikiLeaks whistleblower, Bradley Manning becoming Chelsea Manning, Amy Schneider, $1 million Jeopardy champion, transition woman, who was the winningest woman ever on Jeopardy. And that title was challenged because, well, she was born a man. So I guess we have a problem with washrooms, sports, and Jeopardy. Chaz Bono used to be Chastity Bono. Actor Ellen Page became Elliot Page. The Wachowski brothers made the Matrix movies, then became the Wachowski sisters. How about Sarah McBride? She's the first openly transgender person to be elected to U.S. Congress. I mean, there is some high-profile transgendering. Yet, society is nervous. They're debating the washroom issue on Capitol Hill right now. Where will Sarah McBride go pee? We should have a law. Of course, they're really going crazy over sports. They love their sports. Don't mess with our sports. Can you imagine if Bruce Jenner became Caitlyn a year after winning gold at the 1976 Montreal Olympics, and then wanted to compete as a woman in the 1980 Games? The IOC's heads would have collectively exploded. Most famously, recently, University of Pennsylvania, transgendered swimmer Leah Thomas, a low-ranked male swimmer who transgendered and started to win everything. It's unfair, cited the other women, along with MAGA Republicans. Various teams in a college volleyball conference refused to play the women's team at San Jose State because they said they had a transgender woman on the team. Unfair! Nikki Hiltz is an American transgender non-binary track athlete who competed in the female category at the Paris Olympics. Before that, there was Caster Semenya, a South African transgender runner who won the world championships as a teenager and has been the center of constant debate and controversy. The WNBA had a transgendered player for years. Now, she wasn't athletically dominant, so it wasn't as big a deal. I'm just waiting for some huge, hulking transgender woman who wants to play in the Women's Professional Hockey League. How will they handle that? And by the way, this is all playing out in what is still a man's sexist world. This is why it's worse for a man becoming a woman. Because if a woman wants to play in a male sports league, it becomes more a thing like, wow, how far women have come. A woman could play goal for the NHL. If there was a woman who could throw a 100-mile-an-hour fastball, would she not be able to play Major League Baseball? Why not? Danica Patrick raced against men at many levels of motorsports. A woman identifying as a woman playing a man's game is considered quite an accomplishment. Another win for equality. However, a man identifying as a woman wanting to play a woman's sport, well, that's unfair. We know that historically the biology varies between men and women. generally men have a greater body mass, more height, and a different physiology. Our mistake, hundreds of years ago, is dividing society up into what we believed were only those two genders. Sports were divided up into male and female, when really, where possible, competition should happen as categorized by height and weight. Maybe that swimming situation at the University of Pennsylvania is unfair, but mainly because the way we divvy up athletes is not fair. Divisions by gender and only gender now seem arbitrary and ridiculous. Hell, even artistic performances, like the Oscars, it's divided up by male and female, actor and actress. How insane is that? That Meryl Streep is good, but she's no Robert De Niro. Come on. Again, the situation is not perfect for the L's, the G's, the B's, the Q's, the A's, the I's, the two S's, but the T's are finding it tough. And how bizarre, the transition and transgender people represent about 0.5% of the population. That's it. Now, it doesn't matter how small a percentage of the population someone is. They still deserve basic human rights. That's not what I mean. I mean, it's strange that 0.5% of the population is causing at least 50% of the people to lose 100% of their minds.
Later That Same Life is written, voiced, and produced by Larry Fedoruk. LarryFedoruk37@gmail.com. Subscribe to Larry's podcast YouTube channel. Get automatic notifications with each new episode.